Before we begin our program, I would ask that everyone stand as we present the posting of the colors. You can be seated. What a magnificent singing rendition of that. Good evening. I'm Chandler Vice Mayor Jeff Winiger. Welcome to a very special event. We are indeed proud to host this event here at the Chandler Center for the Arts. In honor of Holocaust Remembrance Day, we will hear from Colonel Edward Shames, a member of the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment and Easy Company. This day was initiated worldwide to honor the victims of the Holocaust. Throughout the world today, people are coming together so that future generations will always be aware of the tragedy that took place during that time. A lot of hard work and a little luck has brought us all together here tonight. Colonel Shames is visiting us from his home on the East Coast. Tonight will be the first time he has publicly shared his story, and on behalf of the Mayor and Council, I thank him for his generosity. The rail car you saw out front also carries a remarkable story. Having traveled nearly 11,000 miles on its trip to Chandler, it will find a permanent home at the future Holocaust and Tolerance Museum near the corner of Ray and Alma School Roads. We hope events like this will help get that project built in the very near future. Again, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for your commitment in never letting this tragic time be forgotten. and enjoy the evening. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Steve Tepper, the Executive Director of the East Valley Jewish Community Center and very good friend of Chandler.
Thank you all so much for coming out tonight, and thank you for your patience. It took us a little while to get started. I have a quick list of thank yous and then a few comments and a video that I think will be stunning to all of you. A quick thank you to the Army National Guard Color Guard for coming out this evening. I found it incredibly moving. I don't know if all of you could see, but the Colonel was standing backstage at attention. Thank you very much, Vice Mayor Weninger. And also thank you, Savannah Martin, who's a Chandler High School student who came out and really sang an amazing rendition of the national anthem. I have a quick list of people that we need to thank. Events like this don't come together without an immense amount of work. Thank you, Beth Archer. Beth Archer walked into my office one day. I always get nervous when people say that there's someone to see you and they don't have an appointment. Beth walked into my office after reading an article about the rail car in, I think, December or January, and said, I have a relationship with Colonel Ed Shames from the Band of Brothers, and we would very much like to use him in some way, shape, or form to help build your museum. Beth's an incredible person. She did an incredible job working with us to make this event possible. And thank you to her. Thank you to the Chase Building team for their generous sponsorship. And also, Beth works at Chase Building. And they have given her an ample amount of what one might call flexible time in order to help put this event together. You're in for a real treat this evening. A special thanks to Colonel Shames. You'll get a chance to say thank you to him when he's done speaking in a little bit. I've had the opportunity to interact with him backstage. When we say that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, when he's done speaking, you'll understand why. Thank you to Kimberly James and the Chandler Office of Tourism, Swift Transportation, who has generously donated the use of a trailer, has transported the rail car when we've needed it, and has really been an unbelievable community partner in making this event happen. You'll see during the video, you'll see Rabbi Deitch from Chabad of Chandler providing a blessing for those who were lost and a blessing of the rail car. Rabbi Deitch was an integral part of our trip to Los Angeles to greet the rail car. He wasn't able to be here this evening, but we couldn't thank him enough. Our staff have worked tirelessly. I get the honor of coming up here and speaking, but Courtney Griggs, Courtney started with us in January, and she started right at our Brian Singer event, went from there to our hosting of Anne Frank when we saw just around 17,000, 18,000 people come through our facility in 19 days, and has come to this evening's event. I believe that Courtney will be resigning tomorrow morning, but for the brief time that she's still working with us, she's done an amazing job. Hadassah Baldinger, Charlie Reed-Ed, Mary Garcia, and Sharon Baer, and we had a whole host of staff volunteer. Specifically, I want to thank the Chandler Police Department and Commander Dale Walters. Pulling off an event like this takes a lot of coordination. I always say that I want to make sure that when people attend these events, they're as safe as if I were taking care of my own children. And they really took that message to heart and did an incredible job, and Commander Walters was a great partner. Other great partners, Leah Powell, who's an amazing person to work with. She volunteers for us. Supposedly, she has a day job with the city. Jane Poston and Craig Younger also volunteer with us, and from what I understand, they too also work for the city and the entire communications committee. Erica Newberg spent an incredible amount of time helping to promote this event and make sure that it got the widest, broadest attendance. And Erica, if you're here, I wish that you could be standing up front with me and take a look at this audience. It's stunning to take a look out. Julie Landau, I have special comments for you. When you work in this business in nonprofit, your staffing resources are limited, and there are only so many hours in a day. When you have a volunteer who says, I want to make this my own, I want to make it unbelievable, I want to invest in this project, and I want to see it be successful, you latch onto that person, and you don't let go no matter what. I haven't let go of Julie Landau. It feels like I've known you forever, Julie, but you've been an incredible person to work with, a real inspiration, and I couldn't thank you enough for this evening's success. And what I said about having Erica Newberg up here goes doubly for you. You worked awfully hard to make this happen. I have two more quick thank yous. Sonia Breslow. Sonia Breslow invested in this project when it was an idea. Sonia Breslow invested in this project when it was a dream. when there was a small group of people who wanted to make this a reality. Sonia Breslow shepherded this project with her belief system, with her investment of her time, with her investment of her financial resources. And this project is here today because of lots of people. But Sonia Breslow, when we talk about the cornerstone of our museum, Sonia Breslow and her family certainly are the cornerstone of our museum. And yes, Sonia, I will try at some point. She has saved me a seat to sit next to her. We will try. Finally, this is something that I've thought about from the beginning of this. We wanted to make this accessible, and while the price for this was relatively, hopefully, doable for everybody at $5, we wanted to specially give recognition to those who are either actively serving our country or did serve our country at one point in time. And we did that. While it's not a large amount of money, we did give a $3 discount in order to try to, in some small way, honor those who protected our freedom, who made... I'm not done. Save your applause, please, because I'm going to ask you for it in a minute. Who really, without their sacrifice, an event like this, bringing this rail car and turning it from this horrible instrument of evil into something that will do so much good would not have been possible. So I'm going to ask, and I hope that you'll indulge me in this, I'm going to ask that if you are currently active military or if you are a veteran of any service of our country, please stand and be recognized. And when everyone is standing, please give them a round of applause. We couldn't thank you enough for your service, so thank you, and that was very heartwarming. I've been asked by lots of people to share my experiences at the pier when we went to go meet the rail car and welcome it to America. A number of those people are here this evening, and if these comments turn out to be boring when this event is over, please let me know, and I will introduce you to them personally so that you can tell them that that was a mistake. Early on, when we received this rail car, initially we worked with Michael Berenbaum, who is really helping guide us. Michael was the project director when the U.S. Holocaust Museum was built and has worked on in some capacity, every major Holocaust museum in this country and abroad. Michael Berenbaum has had a role in. Michael called me up and said as a side at the back end of a conversation, someday I will help you guys get a rail car when you have a museum, and it'll be amazing to have it in your museum. And I said, what if we made that day today? What if we were able to do it now? And he said, you won't have anything to do with it. And I thought, and talked to our leadership, who I give a lot of credit for really buying into this, we really thought, what an amazing idea to bring it out early, use it as the cornerstone of our museum, and really try to make it something that our community could rally around. I went with a group of people to the Port of Los Angeles to go greet the rail car. The night that we went, we had this unfettered access. After September 11th, there has been, as has been needed, to be honest with you, a complete clampdown on the port. You need incredible security access. I very politely said to the person who was in charge of the pier what we were trying to do, and I said, I'm going to be a thorn in your side, but I'm going to call you every 3 days until you let us go in. And I said, I'm going to be polite about it. I'm certainly not going to be mean or nasty. But if you put this in front of the right person, it is very easy to say yes to. If somebody just hears it, they will, of course, say no. There was a man at SSA Marine who's in charge of all of the pier where this came in, who this got put on his desk, and he made it his personal mission to let our group go in. You'll see in the video, it was unbelievable. The car came in at night. After many, many delays, including, by the way, they had a traffic jam at the port, and the ship had to sit at sea for, I think, 3 or 4 days. The car came in at night and was offloaded, and they gave us access where we were literally right in front of the ship. The car was underneath the deck to protect it. And so they had to take off some other pieces first, and they were making this whole production just for us, and it was very nice. I started to look up and started to realize that a crowd had started to gather around as we got closer and closer to the time where the car was coming out. And at one point I looked up and just slowly started counting, and there were 35 dock workers who were there. They've seen everything on earth unloaded, fancy cars, airplanes, you name it, they've unloaded it at this pier. 35 of them came and left their jobs to come see this rail car unloaded. And I knew, for me, it was special. I was really surprised at the power for everybody else. At one point, one of the supervisors turned to one of the dock workers and pointed at me and said, "Why isn't he on the ship? Get him on the ship." And so I like to believe that I'm athletic, but I know who I am at the end of the day, and I am not. Although my children are young enough that they still think that I am. They'll get to that point. I ran with this guy up this set of stairs that he has clearly climbed 8 million times, and I went behind him in his jet wash as the stairs weren't really secured and tried to hang on for dear life. If the video that I had taken had sound, you would have heard a lot of sounds like, "Oh my God, my wife's going to kill me. I can't believe this is happening." But I got to watch the rail car come out from above. I was standing above where the rail car was, maybe 40, 50 feet above, and I got to watch them pull it out of the bottom of the ship. I've never seen anything more breathtaking in my life, ever. I went down from where that was and started to observe and work with the ship. I wanted to see it, I wanted to touch it, I wanted to be near it. It is such an amazing, amazing artifact. It is something that was so negative and has such a positive possibility to it. It's stunning. And someone tapped me on the shoulder, and it was the person in charge of the pier very politely telling me that it was time to move the car to a different area, but that they would find a way to get us access to the car. I took a brief look because I just wanted to see what was going on, and I noticed two things. One, there were 50, 60 people at the dock. They had come from everywhere. And two, the dock had come to a complete standstill. There was a mile of trucks that were waiting to unload their cargo. They had shut down the dock so that our group and everybody else could take in this artifact. And then we started with the stories. We started hearing from the dock worker whose parents were in Poland. We started hearing their personal connections to the rail car. And then they took us onto the rail car. They put us on a forklift and forklifted us up. And we got to see the rail car. And I felt like I spent 10 years in that rail car, just touching, seeing, being in every part of it. Just a brief funny aside, I looked up at one point and someone had come through. He was dressed straight off the set of Goodfellas. He was wearing an unbelievable shiny suit. In nonprofit, it would take me 4 or 5 years of savings to have bought a suit like that. He had a long overcoat. He introduced himself. He was the head of the union for dock workers. He said to me, and he was with what I don't know if it was his wife or somebody else. She was a very young, attractive woman. He said, "I hope it's okay if we come on and see this car." And I said, "Yes, sir, I think that would be great." The next morning, we had a ceremony. You'll get to see a portion of the ceremony in a moment when we show the video. During this ceremony, we had 22 people. Our group was actually 7. We had 22 people who came. The lawyer who helped with the import-export, who ended up donating all of his fees. The cargo company, who donated their fees back to us when they realized what the cargo was. The head of the dock. The person who operated the forklift came up and was part of this ceremony. When I say part, we had pieces of paper with stories and pictures of local survivors. I wanted to contextualize this car. I wanted people to realize where this car came from. And each of us read one of those stories and showed the picture. All of those people in some way, shape, or form were in a car like this or were narrowly escaped a car like this. I haven't cried like that in a really, really, really long time. The personalization of it, the understanding of the pain and suffering that this car caused, it was hard to fathom, it was hard to believe. When I say everybody participated, the dock workers, we didn't have enough biographies to give to everybody, and the dock workers were fighting over who we'd get to read. This car has immense power. This car has something that can propel us forward, and I'll talk more about that. Before we start the video, J2 Media, which is Jason Heinkel, came out to Los Angeles with us. He brought what seemed like 8 million pounds of equipment. I only know that because he handed me some bag and slung it over my shoulder and I fell. Jason came out at his own expense. He spent endless numbers of hours videoing, trying to be in the background, trying to capture the footage that you're about to see, and then he put together this video. This video shows an amazing touch. It shows somebody who related to the experience. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask that we please start the video. And by the way, if you've ever been to one of our productions, I'm crossing both fingers. I'm going to ask that we please start the video, and then I'll just give you a few wrap-up comments when that's over. Thank you.
It's a powerful symbol, this rail car.
Berl Herbst and his entire family, including all of his children and grandchildren, perished during the Holocaust.
Despite the clamor of a working dock all around them, the voices of the people who came to greet the car rang clear as they told the stories of the families they came to honor.
His father was gassed, his mother died, and he was the sole survivor of his family.
They came banging on the door of our second-floor apartment and took my father away.
Mothers held little tiny babies, crushed, some of them dying in their own arms from the pressure. The smell after many days was ferocious. The sound outside of dogs barking, Germans screaming, people yelling was enough to drive anybody mad. But not the survivors.
Millions of stories, millions of people, each with a life, family, friends, carried away by a cattle car, subjected to the worst of human nature.
One minute I was surrounded by my family, by all that love, and the next minute I found myself alone in Auschwitz. I was 15.
For decades, this rail car sat. Today, it finishes its journey of 11,000 miles to fulfill a new purpose, to become a centerpiece in a place dedicated to human dignity, to honor and respect those who were denied any such honor and respect during their lives, and to always remind us to never forget, never again.
Kanfei hashechino b'malais kedoshim.
It was as I promised, hopefully. So when we left Los Angeles, it was Friday, and I fought hard to get home to do Shabbat with my family. I do Shabbat with my family every week, but this week, this particular week, it meant more to me than ever before. The difference between me being here and me not being here is that my great-grandmother made a decision to send her youngest son to America with $10 and a watch. That watch I still have today. His brother, Berl Herbst, and his entire family perished during the Holocaust at the hands of the Nazis. And so I wanted to be home, to be with my family, to be with my wife, to be with my children. The ability for me to do Shabbat on a weekly basis, it was a stroke of luck. It was also, and that's why this all works together, it's also largely because all those people who stood up, who fought for our country, who stood up for our freedom, I have the ability to do that in the United States because of what you've done, and I don't take that privilege lightly. I can't thank you enough for that. I've never had, and I've been a part of many, many, many meaningful Shabbat services. I've never had a more meaningful Shabbat than coming home and being able to hug my children and know that I'm able to do this every week, and how fortunate I am to be here. So there's a power of survivors, and I say that because I've had the privilege and the honor of working with a lot of the Holocaust survivors in our community. And I wear this pin. This pin is from the 25th anniversary of the Phoenix Holocaust Survivors Association. I'm going to try to tell this story without breaking up. I've never been able to do it. Our survivor population is aging. Our survivor population is getting more sick, and our survivor population, unfortunately, will not be here a whole lot longer. The power of these people and the power that they have to tell this story and to teach these lessons, it's hard to fathom. I've heard Gerda Weissman-Klein speak. I've heard Helen Handler speak. When they speak, you can hear a pin drop inside the room, whether it's to adults, whether it's to students or children or teachers, and there's something to that. So when I went to the 25th anniversary of the Phoenix Holocaust Survivors Association, they did something beautiful. They invited students from religious schools, Jewish and Catholic, to sit at the tables with survivors to try to personalize the experience. And at the end of the ceremony, the children presented the survivors with these pins. It was very, very moving. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. But then what happened next is what got me. They played Hava Nagila, the Hora, and the children all started dancing, Jewish and non-Jewish. It was a beautiful sight. It was something to be seen. I felt honored for being there. And then slowly but surely, the students started going back to their survivors, many of them canes, walkers, and started bringing them out onto the dance floor and dancing with them. I've never seen anything like it. I'm not sure I will ever see anything like it again. But I can tell you that those experiences, that personalization, is coming to a close. This museum, this rail car, these efforts that we're doing in this state where Holocaust education really the standards around it are embarrassing. They're some of the worst in the nation. Those experiences won't be happening in the future, and we have to bridge that gap. This museum and our efforts to build it, and there are over 100 volunteers who are working on it right now, working diligently from all segments of the community, from the East Valley to Scottsdale to Phoenix to Chandler, all over, Jewish and non-Jewish, of every race and nationality. Those people are dedicated to preserving that memory, to making that go. People say, why Chandler? The answer is that there's not as an affiliated a Jewish community here. And in this community, while Chandler Unified School District does an amazing job of teaching the Holocaust, there are still segments of the population who need to learn. We just hosted Anne Frank. I can't tell you how many students came through. I can, actually. It's just around 10,000. But I can't tell you how many students came through who this was their first experience meeting a Jewish person, and they hadn't even done any pre-work before they came to the exhibit and didn't know what the Holocaust was. It has happened since, and it has to stop. And the way that that happens is through education, not just of the young, but of everybody. Our group has banded together to make that happen. But the other reason that Chandler is the key location for it, city government has embraced this like none other before. Helen Handler says many times, because I spend a fair amount of time talking to her, Helen, like many of our volunteers, picks up the phone and calls me whenever she has the urge. And Helen recently has had a lot of phone conversations with me. This is not the first effort to build a Holocaust museum in Phoenix. It's the first one that has been successful. And the reason that it's been successful, there are many of them, but one of them is Chandler's investment. Chandler has invested not just dollars, a little over $2 million, but Chandler has also invested immense time and resources. And out here, the school district is separate than the city. They too have invested resources. They too are committed to this project. They too want to see this museum built. And so for us, the time is now. The time is here. I made a promise to Helen Handler when I saw her the other day. I took her to see the rail car. I've never done anything more emotional in my life. I've never been a part of anything like that. Her reaction to the rail car was very strong. And I'll respect her by not going further than that. But she asked me to make a promise to her, and it's a promise that I hope I can keep. The promise is that she wants to be there when this museum opens. So it leads me to my final request of you. There is enough resources in this room to build this museum today. When people ask me, when do we hope to have this museum open? We wanted it open yesterday. We wanted it open last week, last month, last year. Our state needs this museum, but more importantly, our state deserves this museum. I want to be able to look Helen in the eye and say we're going to make it. That is incredibly important to me. Helen Handler, Gerda Weissman-Klein, George Kallman, I could go through a list of names of people who we've worked with. They've dedicated their lives after their lives were ripped apart, torn apart for no reason other than the religion to which they were born. Lost their families. They have dedicated their subsequent lives to preserving the memories of the Holocaust and making sure that generations learn from it. We need to do our part to aid them. So how does that happen? We're in the middle of starting, not in the middle, we're in the very beginning of starting a campaign. We're looking for 100 people who have the ability to give a minimum of $5,000 or more. It's what we need to get everything accomplished to get to the stage where we can do real, true fundraising. I could go through a budget with you. I could go through all kinds of different pieces that we need, but the truth is that we have some work to finish up before we can go out on a true capital campaign. And some of that work involves the development of the rail car so that it can be used as a learning tool before the museum opens. There are a number of you in this room who have the ability to make that $5,000 gift. There are a number of you in this room who have made that gift. Thank you. On behalf of Helen and Gerda and George and everyone else who we work with from the survivor community, thank you. For those of you who haven't, we'd love to meet you. We'd love to get to know you. We'd love to get you involved. Some of you are sitting thinking to yourselves, I don't have $5,000 to give. I understand that. I completely understand and I relate. Everybody in this room has something that they can do to get this museum built. It doesn't have to be financial. Although, to be completely honest with you, finances are what we need at this particular stage. We need all kinds of other help. There were 40 some odd people who worked to make this evening the success that it's been so far, and we need a lot more than that to accomplish what we're trying to do. Our website has an email address on it. There's a way for you to contact us. Please reach out. Let us know how we can work with you. We're a small group. You get up and you see an event like this. I got a report. We're at 1,400 people in this auditorium. You would think that our organization had 100 and some odd people working on a project like this. We have one and a quarter, myself and a quarter time of somebody else. We will get back to you. It may take us a little bit of time, but we will get back to you. But I ask you, I urge you, and I beg you, please stand with me to make this dream a reality. We've gotten to the first stage. We've made an amazing amount of progress. Amazing. That rail car, to see it, to see people going through it. After all the work that people have put in, we should be awfully proud of our community, everybody. But we need more, and we need to make this a reality for Helen, for all the survivors, so that they can have the privilege, the pleasure, the honor, and frankly, something that they deserve, to stand in the lobby and help cut the ribbon when we open it. Thank you so much for indulging me this evening.